The briefing lasted 6 minutes. That was 6 minutes longer than the human needed. Commander Beth Auric knew this because the human recruit Elena Vasquez Terra Sol system had stopped taking notes after the first 90 seconds. She wasn't distracted. She wasn't bored. She was done. She had absorbed everything already. Vethorak had been running Galactic Coalition Forward Combat School for 11 years. He had trained Vorkai, Draxan, Keth, Theriel. He had trained species whose nervous systems could process tactical data at 3 times the rate of most sentients. He had never trained a human. He was about to understand why that mattered. The Coalition Forward Combat School sat on Dravari Station. Dravari was not a comfortable posting. It was a border installation. Cold, pressurized above standard, high gravity, 1.2 standard, which was enough to make most species feel it in their legs by midday. The school ran a 12-week program. Every week someone washed out. The ones who made it through were considered combat ready for any theater of operation in Coalition space. The ones who didn't, well, there were gentler postings. The current cohort was 14 recruits, 13 species represented, 1 human. The other 13 recruits had done what recruits always do when something unfamiliar arrives. They had assessed. Height, 167 centimeters. Build, modest. Lean. No visible musculature of note. No natural armor. No enhanced sensory apparatus. Species classification, social omnivore, low threat tier. The assessment had taken about 30 seconds. Then they had gone back to their own concerns. The human was not a concern. Drill instructor Makos was a Theriel. Theriel were built for discomfort. Their homeworld had a gravity of 1.8 standard. Their skeletal structure was reinforced with a calcium-silicon hybrid compound. Their muscles operated on a closed-loop anaerobic system for the first 6 hours of exertion before switching to standard aerobic metabolism. In practical terms, Makos could run continuously for 6 hours before he started to get tired. He was not a patient creature. He believed that discomfort was the only honest teacher. He believed that everything recruits thought they knew about their own limits was wrong, and he believed that the best way to begin instruction was to immediately prove both of those points. Day 1, first hour. Before breakfast, 14 recruits standing in the station's main training bay. Today, Makos said, we run. Simple, clear, non-negotiable. Station perimeter, full gravity, full kit. Full kit was 32 kilograms of standard coalition field equipment. At 1.2 gravity, that was effectively 38.5 kilograms of carried weight. Vasquez picked up her kit. She didn't comment on the weight, she just put it on, adjusted the straps, rolled her shoulders. One of the Keth recruits, a large creature called Draven, looked at her sideways. You've done load-bearing runs before, he said. Sure, she said. In 1.2 gravity? She looked at him. We'll see, she said. The station perimeter was 4 kilometers. For the first kilometer, the formation held. By the second, it had begun to fragment. The Theriel recruit, not Makos, a younger one named Saris, was at the front. No surprise. Built for this. Draven and 2 others were close behind. The middle pack was struggling, breathing hard, legs heavy, and somewhere in the back half, Vasquez, not last, not struggling, not looking comfortable exactly, but moving with a kind of settled, rhythmic economy that Makos, running alongside the formation, found strange. She wasn't fighting the gravity. She wasn't fighting the weight. She was just inside it. Like she had negotiated some kind of arrangement with the physics. By kilometer 3, the formation had fully separated. 4 recruits were significantly behind. 2 had slowed to a walk. Vasquez was in the top half of the group, still using that same rhythm. That same settled, unhurried, absolutely relentless rhythm. Makos ran up beside her. Recruit, he said. Instructor, she said, not breathless. Breathing hard, yes, but controlled. You've run under load before. Yes, sir. Not in 1.2. No, sir. Your form is adapted. She looked at him briefly. I've run under worse load on higher gravity, just not this combination. Mako's considered that. Where? He said. Mountain ranges, she said. Back home. And a posting on Callisto Station last year. 1.4. Makos was quiet for a moment. He pulled back, let her run. He watched that rhythm, that settled, relentless, absolutely unhurried rhythm. And he thought about what she'd said. Higher gravity, worse load, as if this were, relatively speaking, a recovery run. The formation finished. Or most of it finished. 3 recruits did not complete the circuit. They were sitting near the water stations, equipment off, breathing in the specific way that bodies breathe when they have been genuinely overextended. Vasquez finished in the upper third. She crossed the line, stopped, put her hands on her knees, breathed for a moment, then stood up straight, looked around to see where the others had landed. Cirrus was watching her, the Therial recruit, top finisher. He walked over. You run like you've been doing this your whole life, he said. I have, she said. In that gravity? Higher sometimes. She accepted a water ration from the station wreck. Earth's surface gravity is about 0.8 of station standard, so this is already a step up for me. Cirrus blinked. 0.8, he said. Yeah, but you adapted to 1.4 for a posting. About 8 months. She drank. You get used to it. Cirrus looked at her, then at his own legs. Therial were built for 1.8. This human had adapted to 1.4 in 8 months. Starting from 0.8, he did the math. Then he stopped doing the math because the math was making him feel something unfamiliar. Makos filed a note that evening. Not a formal report, just a note. Terran recruit Vasquez, unusual load-bearing adaptation profile, flag for continued observation. He had been going to say flag for potential early assessment, which was the polite way of saying someone might wash out. He changed it. Flag for continued observation. Then he went to look at the Terran species file, which he had not looked at before. Because humans were classified low threat. Because they were soft. Because nothing in their physical profile suggested they would be relevant to a forward combat course. He opened the file. He read for 40 minutes. Then he sat back, and he stared at the ceiling for a while. Day 3. Combat simulation. Makos had designed the exercise himself. A 3-hour survival scenario, urban terrain, variable obstacles, timed extraction objectives, working in pairs. He assigned the pairs. He paired Vasquez with Draven. Draven was the biggest recruit in the cohort. Keth physiology. Enormous. Powerful. Not particularly fast, but nearly impossible to stop once moving. Makos was curious what would happen when you put those two together. He didn't have to wait long. The exercise started well. Draven moves through the terrain exactly as you'd expect a large Keth to move. Directly, forcefully, without subtlety. He hit the first obstacle, a collapsed structure requiring a navigational decision, and picked the most direct route, through. Vasquez watched him do this. Then she said, there's a better line. Draven looked at her. This is faster. It's shorter, she said, not faster. You're going to burn energy on that climb, and then we have 2 more hours. Draven looked at the climb. It was not a hard climb for a Keth. I am fine, he said. You're fine now, she said. Titan hours, yeah. I've watched how you move. You front-load your energy expenditure. You're going to hit 60% 2 hours before we need you at 90. Draven stared. I have been training for, I know, Take the other line. Trust me for 3 hours, and then tell me I was wrong. A long beat. Draven took the other line. Vasquez moved through the terrain with that same infuriating efficiency she'd shown on the run. She was not the fastest. She was not the strongest, but she moved like someone who had done a very precise calculation about exactly how much of herself to spend at every moment. Never too much, never too little. Always something in reserve. At the 2-hour mark, they had completed 4 of the 5 extraction objectives. Fastest pair in the exercise. By 20 minutes, Draven was at 68% capacity. He could feel it. He would have been at 40 if he'd taken his original route. He did not say this to Vasquez, but he thought about it. He thought about it a lot. Vasquez was reading the terrain for the 5th objective. She had a small tablet. She was looking at it and looking at the terrain and doing something with her eyes that Draven couldn't quite describe, like she was laying 2 images over each other. There, she said. That's a maintenance corridor, Draven said, not a marked route. It connects to the extraction point, 40 meters shorter. Lower ceiling means they can't use aerial surveillance. We come out behind their sensor perimeter. How did you? I looked at the station schematics last night. Draven blinked. You memorized the station schematics? Not all of them, she said, just the parts that seemed relevant. How much of it seemed relevant? She started moving. Most of it, she said. They completed the exercise in 2 hours, 41 minutes. The second place pair finished at 3 hours, 12. Mako stood at the extraction point when Vasquez and Draven came through the maintenance corridor. He looked at them. He looked at Vasquez specifically. Recruit, he said. Instructor. The maintenance corridor is not a marked route. It's not a prohibited route either, sir. A pause. No, Mako said. It is not. He looked at his tablet. Best time by any pair in that exercise this year. Best time by any pair in that exercise in 3 years. How did you know about the corridor? He said. Station schematics, sir. You studied the station schematics. I study any space I'm going to operate in, sir, when possible. Makos looked at her. This small, soft, plain-seeming creature, who had memorized the station schematics, who had managed Draven's energy expenditure better than Draven had, who had just run a combat simulation course faster than anyone had run it in 3 years. Go eat, Mako said. She went. Mako stood there and did something he had not done in 11 years of running this school. He updated his initial assessment all the way up. Day 5, the combat aptitude evaluations. Every recruit was assessed individually. Physical combat metrics, reflex testing, tactical response time, weapon handling, standard evaluation battery. Makos ran it with a colleague. Evaluator Preen, a Verkaya specialist in close quarters assessment. Preen had done this evaluation 400 times. He had seen everything, he thought. Vasquez came in, stood at the evaluation line. Recruit Vasquez, Preen said. Standard protocol. You understand the evaluation is scored across multiple metrics? Yes, sir. Physical metrics are one component. You should not feel that physical performance is the primary. What's the top score this cohort? She said. Preen paused. Excuse me. Current top score. This cohort. What is it? Makos and Preen looked at each other. That information is not provided to recruits during the evaluation process, Preen said. Vasquez nodded. Okay, she said. Let's start. The reflex test went first. Preen activated the targeting system. 47 stimulus points, various positions, various speeds. Response time measured in milliseconds. Average coalition combat-ready response, 240 milliseconds. Top score of this cohort, held by Cirrus, 180 milliseconds. Vasquez's average, 191 milliseconds. Preen noted it. Good, very good, not the top. Then the weapon handling. Standard issue, coalition sidearm, moving target. Varying distances. Preen ran it twice because he thought the scoring system had malfunctioned. It hadn't. He ran it a third time. Same result. 94% accuracy. Moving targets. Combat stress simulation active. How many hours of weapon training? Makos asked quietly. Coalition standard training, sir. About 40 hours. And before that, she thought for a moment, probably 2,000 on various Earth standard weapons. Hunting, competition shooting, military service. 2,000 hours. Preen wrote that down. Makos wrote it down too. Then the tactical response scenarios. They presented her with 12 situations. Complex, multivariable, high pressure. Average coalition completion time, 9 minutes per scenario. Vasquez averaged 5 minutes 40 seconds. On the last 3 scenarios, she didn't look at the display board. She looked at Makos. "Can I ask you a question, sir?" During the evaluation, Makos said, "It's about the evaluation. Go ahead." These scenarios, they're all coalition doctrine gamma pattern responses. The answer structure is the same in all 12. You're testing whether we recognize the pattern and apply it correctly. Mako said nothing. "I'm applying it correctly," she said, "but gamma pattern has a known failure mode against adversaries who've studied coalition doctrine. I want to flag that." Preen had stopped writing. He was just staring. "You're critiquing the evaluation scenario," Mako said. "I'm completing the evaluation scenario," she said, "and flagging an operational concern." "Sir." A very long silence. "Complete the scenario," Mako said. She did. 5 minutes, 12 seconds. Best time in the battery. That evening, Makos and Preen sat in the debrief room. The evaluation data was on the screen. "She's not the top in physical metrics," Preen said. "No. Saris has better raw reflex time. Draven has better strength output. 3 others outscore her in specific physical categories." "Yes, but overall she's second," Makos said. "Overall composite score. Second in the cohort. After 6 days." Preen was quiet. "She critiqued our scenario design," he said. "She was right," Mako said. "Gamma pattern is vulnerable to counter-doctrine application. We know this. It's a known limitation. She identified it in real time during a scored evaluation." "Yes." Another silence. "She asked what the top score was," Preen said. "Yes." "She was going to aim for it." "Yes." Preen looked at the screen, at the small, unassuming biometric silhouette of Elena Vasquez. "What does the human species file say?" he asked. Makos had been waiting for this question. He pulled it up. "Persistence hunters," he said. "For most of their evolutionary history, humans didn't have the best speed, didn't have the best strength, didn't have the best senses individually." He paused. "What they had was pattern recognition and endurance, and the ability to adapt their behavior in real time based on observed data. They hunted by following prey until it exhausted itself, not by being faster or stronger, by being smarter about how they spent themselves." Preen read over his shoulder. "They're designed to study the thing they're hunting," he said slowly. "Yes, and adjust. Yes, and keep going." Makos nodded. "They are," he said, "fundamentally a species of patient and relentless study." He looked at the data. "We have been treating the physical metrics as the relevant measurement." "They're not," Preen said. "They are not," Makos agreed. "The relevant measurement is how fast she adapts to new information, how accurately she models an environment, how efficiently she manages her own resources. A beat. She modeled Draven in 2 hours and managed his energy expenditure better than he did." Preen stared. "She was managing her partner," he said. "She was running tactical resource management on an entity she had known for 72 hours, in a combat simulation, as a secondary task." The room was very quiet. "What's her primary specialty?" Preen asked. Makos checked the file. She listed 3. "Combat navigation, systems analysis." He paused. "And the third?" He looked up. "Personnel management," he said. Week 2. The cohort knew something was different now. They had seen the simulation scores. They had seen the evaluation results. The assessments had been posted. not detailed but ranked. Vasquez was second. The Theriel, who had been first, Cirrus, looked at the board. He looked at Vasquez. He was not threatened. He was curious. "You outscored me in tactics," he said. "You outscored me in physical combat," she said, "by a significant margin." "Same," she said. "How are you second overall?" he asked. "Genuinely consistent," she said. "I'm not first in anything, but I'm never last in anything either." He thought about that. "On Earth," she said, "we have a phrase: specialists get beaten by generalists when the problem changes shape." Sears considered this. What if the problem doesn't change shape? She smiled. Problems always change shape. Week 3, Marcus introduced them to it on a Monday. The advanced scenario, which was not on the official curriculum. It was something Marcus had developed himself. Over 11 years of watching recruits perform well on every measured metric and then fail catastrophically in simulated real conditions. He called it the Cascade. The Cascade, Makos told the assembled cohort, is a simulation that runs for an unknown duration. There is no announced objective. There is no prepared briefing. You will enter the simulation environment and events will occur. Your task is to respond appropriately. Silence from the recruits. "What is appropriate?" Draven asked. "That is what you will determine," Makos said. "How are we scored?" "You will be scored on outcomes, not process, not method. Outcomes." "What outcomes?" Cirrus asked. Makos looked at them. "The simulation will tell you when something has gone wrong. You will receive no other guidance." He paused. "The Cascade has been run by 47 cohorts. In 47 cohorts, 11 recruits have achieved a passing outcome score. 11. Out of however many hundreds had run it." The recruits looked at each other. "You run it individually," Makos said. "Starting tomorrow. 1 recruit per day." He looked at his list. "Vasquez, you're first." Vasquez didn't ask questions about the Cascade that night. Draven found her in the common area. She was sitting with a cup of something hot, staring at nothing. "You're thinking about it," he said. "I'm always thinking about something," she said. "Right now it's the Cascade. What do you know? Same as you. Unknown duration, unknown objective, outcomes scored." She drank. "And 11 out of several hundred have passed. That's a terrible pass rate." "Yes, what will you do?" She was quiet for a moment. "I'm going to stop trying to figure out what the test wants me to do," she said, "and try to figure out what the simulation actually needs." Draven frowned. "What's the difference?" "A test wants you to perform a specific action correctly." She looked at her cup. "A real situation needs you to solve an actual problem. The test is designed to look like real, but it responds like real. So if I treat it like real instead of like test..." She stopped. "That might be wrong," she said. "I'll find out tomorrow." She entered the simulation at 0700. Makos and Preen watched from the observation room. 3 additional observers had requested access. 2 were from the Coalition Advanced Assessment Division. 1 was a research xenopsychologist named Dr. Valon, who had been studying Terran cognitive adaptation for 6 years. Dr. Valon had, when she heard a human was running the Cascade, submitted a formal observation request within 4 minutes. She had noted, in her request, that she had been waiting for this opportunity for 6 years. The simulation was a damaged station, partial atmosphere loss, multiple emergencies running simultaneously, sensor systems degraded, standard Cascade opening. Most recruits spent the first 10 minutes trying to identify the primary emergency. There wasn't one. That was the point. The Cascade generated multiple simultaneous crises that interacted with each other. Solving one in isolation made another worse. You had to see the system, not the components, the system. Most species under stress narrowed their focus. They selected the most salient crisis and addressed it, directly, forcefully, and then watched 3 other things fall apart while they were succeeding at the first. Vasquez entered the simulation. She stopped. She did not move for 60 seconds. She just looked. Makos had seen this before. Recruits freezing in the opening seconds, overwhelmed. But Vasquez wasn't frozen. Her eyes were moving. Fast. Systematic. Left to right, top to bottom, back again, like she was reading. She's mapping, Dr. Billin said softly from behind him. Makos looked at her. She's identifying all active variables before she touches anything, the xenopsychologist said. She's building a complete picture first. Most recruits start reacting immediately, which feels right, which is actually the failure mode. Dr. Vallon was leaning forward. Humans under high information stress have an unusual capacity to delay response while continuing to process. They call it situational awareness. It looks like hesitation. It is the opposite of hesitation. On the screen, Vasquez started moving. She went to the atmospheric control system. She didn't fix the breach. She rerouted atmospheric circulation to isolate the damaged section. Buying time. Then she went to the sensor array. She didn't try to repair it. She identified which sensors were still functional and used them to triangulate the ones that weren't. Building a partial picture from incomplete data. Then she went to the power grid. She's not solving individual problems, Preen said. She's stabilizing the system, Makos said. There's a difference, a significant one. Makos was watching very carefully. Solving individual problems means each solution is independent. Stabilizing the system means she's making every action support every other action. On the screen, the simulation's crisis indicators, which were supposed to escalate over time, were not escalating. They were holding. That has never happened before, Preen said. No, Makos agreed. They're supposed to escalate no matter what you do. They're supposed to escalate faster than any individual can manage, Makos said. She's not managing individually. Dr. Tertru, Raylon was completely silent. She was recording everything. 40 minutes in, the simulation introduced a new element. It always introduced a new element, a decision point. In this case, a distress signal from a secondary compartment. One survivor. Reaching them required Vasquez to leave the primary systems unattended for approximately 4 minutes. In 4 minutes, the stabilized situation would begin to deteriorate, not catastrophically, but measurably. This was the designed breaking point of the cascade, forced the recruit to choose between the system and the individual. Most chose the individual. It was the empathically obvious choice. It was the wrong one. The system failure that followed would claim more lives than the one they saved. Some chose the system and passed the metric. But Makos had always felt uneasy about that, about what it said, about what it required recruits to become. Vasquez stood at the decision point. She had heard the distress signal. She looked at the primary systems. She looked at the corridor leading to the secondary compartment. She stood there for 30 seconds. Then she did something. She went to the atmospheric system. She spent 90 seconds reconfiguring it into a partial auto-stabilization loop. Not a proper one, not a safe one. A jury-rigged, unreliable, absolutely improvised one. It would hold for about 5 minutes, maybe 6. She ran for the secondary compartment. She reached the survivor, a simulation construct, in 90 seconds. She had the construct on her back and 30 more. She ran back. She reached the primary systems with 40 seconds to spare before her improvised loop would have failed. She restored manual control. She did not stop moving for the next 10 minutes. She stabilized everything. The Cascade's crisis indicators were still holding. In the observation room, no one spoke, not for a full minute after she pulled it off. Then Dr. Vellin said very quietly, she refused the binary. What? Preen said. The scenario presents a binary. System or individual. She refused it. The xenopsychologist's voice had an edge of something in it. Awe, maybe. She found a third option. In 90 seconds, under maximum stress. The auto-stabilization loop won't work in a real scenario, Makos said. It worked here, Dr. Valon said. In this scenario, with the materials available, she assessed what she had and built something that didn't exist before. She looked at the screen. Humans call it improvisation, but it's deeper than that. It's a cognitive refusal to accept the constraints of a defined problem. They see the stated options and immediately look for the option that wasn't stated. Makos was very quiet. Is that common? He said. In humans, Dr. Valon said, it's standard. The cascade ran for 2 hours and 17 minutes. Vasquez passed. With the highest outcome score Makos had ever recorded, she came out of the simulation, sat down on the floor, just sat there. She looked exhausted in the specific way that people look exhausted when they have used not just their body, but every other thing they have. Makos walked over. He didn't say anything immediately. He sat down next to her, which was unusual. Makos did not sit on floors. The auto-stabilization loop, he said. Where did you learn that? Old freight ship, she said. 3 years ago. Atmospheric system failed mid-run. I had 12 minutes before the cargo hold depressurized. She paused. I had worse materials than today. Did it work? I'm here, she said. Makos nodded. The binary, he said. System or survivor. Most recruits don't look for a third option. Most situations don't actually offer a binary, she said. Binaries are usually failure of imagination. She leaned her head back against the wall. Or failure of nerve, she said. Sometimes people choose the binary because it's easier than believing there's another option you haven't seen yet. Mako sat with that for a while. Recruit Vasquez, he said. Instructor. You are the 12th recruit to pass the cascade. She was quiet. In 11 years, he said. 12th. She didn't celebrate. She didn't seem surprised. She just nodded, slowly. What's the third option I missed somewhere, she said. Makos blinked. What? I passed, she said, but I made decisions I wasn't fully confident in. 3 of them. What did I miss? He stared at her. This creature who had just set a record that would stand for years, asking for her failure analysis. You didn't miss anything that changed the outcome, he said. That's not what I asked, she said. He told her. All 3. She listened carefully, asked 2 follow-up questions, nodded. Okay, she said. Thank you. Then she finally looked tired. Word spread to the cohort. It always did. By dinner, everyone knew. Cirrus found Vasquez at the meal station. He sat across from her. You passed the cascade, he said. Yes. No one passes the cascade. 11 people did before me. In 11 years. She ate. How? He said. She thought about it. I stopped trying to solve the problem it gave me, she said, and started solving the problem it actually had. Cirrus stared. Those are the same thing, he said. They almost never are, she said. By week 8, the cohort had shifted. Not obviously, not dramatically, but measurably. Vasquez was first overall, not because she had suddenly developed physical abilities she didn't have, but because she had spent 8 weeks doing exactly what her species had evolved to do, studying, adapting, building relationships. She knew exactly how each recruit moved, thought, and failed under pressure. She knew their strengths better than they did. She knew their limits better than they knew themselves. She had become, without announcement or effort, the tactical brain of the cohort. When 2 recruits had a conflict, they somehow ended up talking to Vasquez. When a training scenario went wrong, people looked for Vasquez. When something was unclear, Vasquez had usually already asked Makos the right question. Draven said it plainly one evening. You're running the cohort, he said. I'm not, she said. You are, he said. You are, he measures. Not with authority. With information. Everyone comes to you because you know things. About this place. About them. She was quiet. Humans have a saying, he said. I looked it up. Knowledge is power. Is that what you do? She shook her head. Knowledge is just knowledge, she said. What you do with relationships is power. Knowledge just helps you build better ones. Draven thought about that for a long time. He decided he did not entirely understand it, but he believed it. The final evaluation. Week 12. All 14 recruits. Combined scenario. Multi-team, multi-objective, dynamic environment. The full program. Everything they'd learned. Everything they had. Makos watched from the observation gallery. Dr. Valan was there again. She had been there every significant evaluation. She had 43 pages of notes on Vasquez alone. The scenario began. For the first 2 minutes, the cohort moved independently. Different objectives, different zones, different problems. Then Vasquez started talking, not loudly. Over the comm system, clear, calm, specific. Cirrus, your objective intersects with Draven's secondary route. Coordinate now before you reach the junction. Pack, there's a sensor gap at the northwest corner. Don't use it. They'll be watching the obvious gap. Draven, you're at 60%. I can see it in your gait. Slow down 10% for the next 100 meters. You need 90 for the extraction. She was managing them. 14 recruits across a complex scenario, in real time, while simultaneously running her own objectives. How is she tracking all of them? Preen said. Dr. Valan did not take her eyes off the screen. She's been watching them for 12 weeks, she said. She knows how each of them moves. She can read their status from behavioral cues that most species wouldn't register as data. That's persistence hunting, the xenopsychologist said. Scaled up, applied to people instead of prey. She knows everything about them because she spent 12 weeks paying attention. The scenario ran for 3 hours. The cohort completed every objective, with time remaining. It was the first time in the history of the program that a cohort had completed all objectives. Mako stood in front of them at the close of week 12, 14 recruits, all standing, all still here. The pass rate for his program was historically 60%. He had 14 of 14. He looked at them. He looked at Vasquez. Recruit Vasquez, he said. Instructor, you modified the final scenario. I coordinated the cohort, sir. The scenario was designed for individual performance assessment. I know, sir. You collectively outperformed the individual assessment ceiling. Yes, sir. A pause. You broke the evaluation, he said. I solved the problem the evaluation actually had, she said. He stared at her. Then, for the first time in 11 years of running this program, Mako smiled. You did, he said. Yes. He turned to face all of them. Dismissed, he said. Then, as they turned to go, Vasquez. She turned back. The Cascade record, he said. You hold it. Indefinitely, I expect. Someone will break it, she said. Unlikely, he said. She shrugged. A very human gesture. Then send me the recruit who does, she said. I want to meet them. She walked out. Makos watched her go. Then he went to write a report, not to his commanding officer, to the Coalition General Staff. He had been thinking about what to write for 3 weeks. He had tried to be measured, clinical, precise. In the end, he wrote the truth. We have been classifying Terran humans incorrectly for the duration of their coalition membership. The classification is based on physical metrics. Physical metrics are the wrong measurement. The correct measurement is adaptive intelligence under compound stress. We have never had a recruit who managed a cohort's energy expenditure, emotional state, and tactical positioning while simultaneously running individual objectives at record pace. We have never had a recruit refuse the binary choice of the Cascade and improvise a third option in 90 seconds. We have never had a recruit pass the Cascade and immediately ask for their failure analysis. Humans are not low threat. Humans are the only species in our program that appears to improve not just during training, but because of training. Every obstacle does not slow them. It teaches them. In 12 weeks, recruit Vasquez did not become good at our program. She understood it. There is a difference. Recommendation: reclassify Terran humans immediately. Update all tactical doctrine. Brief all commands. And if you find yourself in a complex, multivariable, cascading crisis with no clear solution. He paused. He thought about a woman sitting on the floor asking for her own failure analysis. Thought about a jury-rigged atmospheric loop held together with calculation and nerve. Thought about a rhythm on a 4-kilometer run that looked like surrender and was actually the opposite. He finished the sentence. Put a human in charge. They will find the option you didn't know existed. They always do.